Caitlin Clark has landed herself a new, very high-profile position.
She stepped onto the national stage with the lights blasting, cameras rolling, and that "this is a big deal" energy hanging in the air. And then she did the last thing anyone expected on live TV. Her NBC NBA debut wasn't some cute guest spot where you smile, wave, and keep it moving. It landed like a hard stomp, the kind that makes producers lean forward and fans start typing at the same time.
It was announced on Tuesday that Caitlin Clark will join NBC Sports to serve as a special contributor for its new Basketball Night in America program.
Within minutes, the sports world was buzzing like somebody pulled a fire alarm in the middle of the timeline. People weren't just reacting, they were debating, reposting, arguing, and breaking down every detail like it was playoff film. And that's the point. This wasn't a fleeting headline that dies by morning. This was one of those moments that keeps getting replayed because it signals a shift, not a cameo.
Caitlin Clark will make her debut as a TV analyst on February 1st, preceding the Lakers versus Knicks game.
The bombshell? According to NBC Sports' announcement, Caitlin Clark has landed a major new role, flipping from the court to the broadcast booth in a way that caught the entire industry off guard. Not maybe someday, not after retirement, but now, while she's still an active force in the sport. That's what makes this feel wild, because it's not a slow transition.
Of course, Caitlin Clark is expected to offer unique insights in assuming the analyst role.
It's a power move in real time. And let's be honest, this isn't a small gig tucked into a random stream with no spotlight. NBC Sports is a heavyweight, and this move reads like a bold play to grab attention fast, lock in a younger audience, and reshape how fans connect to basketball coverage. The suddenness alone has people stunned, because it's rare to see a current player get this kind of platform without a long media runway first.
And ultimately, the real anticipation is around how she will look when she comes back to the floor at 100% healthy.
Her role is as a special contributor for NBC's brand new program, Basketball Night in America, and that title matters more than it sounds. This isn't come by once and tell a funny story. A special contributor is someone the network wants as a recurring voice, a recognizable face, and a built-in headline generator. And if you've watched how sports media works, you know that means they expect her to drive conversation, not just fill time. NBC isn't even trying to hide the ambition behind this show either. They're framing it as a direct parallel to Football Night in America, which is basically their big stage model.
Caitlin Clark is one of the most captivating players and dynamic scorers in basketball, said Sam Flood, executive producer of NBC Sports.
Polished studio, major personalities, and a vibe that makes the broadcast feel like an event. Creating that same flagship energy for basketball is a big swing, and putting Clark in the mix right away tells you NBC wants instant heat, not a slow build. And here's what really turned heads. They didn't give her a soft opening. Her live television analyst debut is set for February 1st, leading into the Lakers versus Knicks game at Madison Square Garden. That's not ease into it, that's welcome to the deep end. MSG, primetime energy, two massive fan bases, and a spotlight that doesn't forgive awkward moments. This is the stage where people either shine or get cooked. Choosing that matchup for her first major appearance is a statement all by itself. It signals NBC wants her voice connected to high-stakes basketball nights from day one, not hidden behind low-pressure segments. And it also means the expectation is clear. They want her to be sharp, confident, and clip-worthy immediately, because that's how modern broadcasts win the attention war. But February 1st isn't a one-and-done situation, and that's where the story gets even bigger. Clark is scheduled to return to the desk on March 9th for another marquee matchup, this time featuring the Oklahoma City Thunder versus Knicks. That repeat booking matters because it shows NBC isn't treating this like an experiment. They're treating it like a plan. If you're only trying something out, you don't set up multiple high-profile dates so fast. You do one appearance, see how it lands, then decide. NBC is doing the opposite. They're locking in recurring moments to keep the buzz alive and make Clark part of the show's identity, which is exactly how you build a new broadcast brand in a crowded sports landscape. Now, the industry chatter has already started connecting this kind of push to the way networks used legendary names to juice attention in the past. Some comparisons being tossed around are huge, like the way iconic stars once popped up in major NBA coverage eras and instantly made segments feel bigger. Whether you love the comparison or hate it, the message behind it is obvious. NBC thinks Clark can pull eyeballs the way only true needle movers can. And that's what makes the expectations feel almost unreal. Clark isn't being treated like a rookie analyst who gets protected. She's being positioned like a centerpiece, the person people tune in to hear, not just someone sitting politely on the panel. That's pressure, but it's also power, and not many athletes get handed that kind of influence without years in the media game. She's also stepping into an already star-studded studio environment, which makes this even more intense. She'll share the screen with names like Maria Taylor, Carmelo Anthony, Vince Carter, and Tracy McGrady, a lineup full of experience, charisma, and basketball credibility. That's a serious room, and it's not the kind of room you can hide in. The upside is obvious, though. That panel gives her instant legitimacy and instant debate value. If Clark breaks down a play and Carmelo reacts, fans will clip it. If she disagrees with a take from T-Mac, people will argue it for a week. Even the chemistry moments, smirks, side-eyes, quick jokes, become content. That's how sports media works now, and NBC knows exactly what they're doing by placing her in the middle of it. Clark herself sounded genuinely excited about the move, and her statement made that clear. She said, "I'm really excited to be part of Basketball Night in America crew this season." That quote matters because it shows she isn't treating this like a filler job while she waits for the next tip-off. She's treating it like a real lane she wants to be great in. And that's what separates this from the usual athlete cameo. This reads like a strategic pivot, one that lets her stay connected to the game, build media skills, and expand her brand without needing to be on the court every night. It's not just visibility for visibility's sake. It's a long-term positioning move, and it's smart business in a sports world where attention is currency. NBC's executive producer, Sam Flood, backed the move with the kind of praise networks use when they're making a major bet. He described Clark as one of the most captivating and dynamic scorers in basketball, and that wording isn't random. Networks don't just buy skill, they buy magnetism. They buy someone who makes casual fans stop scrolling and start watching, and Clark has proven she can do that. This is NBC saying, "We want current player insight that feels real, not recycled." It's a bet that Clark's perspective will hit differently because she's not speaking from distant memory. She's speaking from the present tense, what it feels like to read coverages now, how teams actually scheme now, what pressure moments really look like now. That freshness can be gold on TV if she delivers it clean. And the timing of this move is extra interesting because of where Clark is physically and professionally right now. Her 2025 WNBA season ended early in July due to injury, and with the 2026 season not beginning until May, there's a long stretch where fans are hungry for any Clark content. This NBC role fills that gap in a way that keeps her relevant without forcing a rushed return to the floor. Instead of disappearing while she recovers, she stays in the conversation every time Basketball Night in America airs. That's a big deal because in modern sports, if you vanish, people move on fast. Clark staying visible keeps her momentum alive, keeps sponsors engaged, and keeps the casual audience tethered to her story even during downtime. Then you add the WNBA-CBA uncertainty hanging in the background, and this broadcast move starts looking even more strategic. With no finalized agreement at the moment, the start of the 2026 season can feel unpredictable, and that creates anxiety across the league. In that kind of limbo, having a major media platform isn't just nice, it's protection. It's a way to control your narrative while everything else is messy. That doesn't mean Clark is leaving the WNBA or anything dramatic like that. It means she's securing stability and presence while the league sorts itself out, and that's a business-minded move whether people want to admit it or not. If the calendar gets weird, she's still on screens. If negotiations drag, she's still in headlines. That's leverage in a different form. And she's not separating herself from basketball competition either, which is another key piece people ignore. She suited up for USA basketball training camp in December and has talked about staying committed to Team USA events, including World Cup-related commitments. That matters because it keeps her in game environments, keeps her engaged with elite systems, and gives her fresh experiences to bring back to the broadcast desk. From a TV standpoint, that's perfect. Fans don't just want takes, they want behind-the-scenes knowledge. How national team practices feel, what elite coaches emphasize, how players communicate when the stakes are national pride. Clark being in those environments gives her material that feels real and fresh, and that's exactly what audiences reward. Now let's talk about what NBC is really buying here. Her brain. Clark's basketball IQ has been praised for years. Reading defenses, manipulating spacing, seeing passes early, and understanding how to punish a coverage before it fully forms. If she can translate that into clear TV language, it'll hit hard because fans love when someone explains the game without making it feel like homework. And that's the sweet spot. Simple words, sharp insight. If Clark can break down a pick and roll and explain why the weak side help got caught or why a defender's foot angle gave up the corner, she'll make viewers feel smarter in real time. That's how you build loyalty. People come back because they feel like they're learning while being entertained. NBC is also clearly thinking long-term with this partnership. The network has signaled bigger basketball ambitions, and the script around this move suggests NBC wants Clark tied into future coverage plans, including women's basketball programming. If NBC expands its WNBA coverage footprint in 2026 as suggested, having Clark already embedded in the network ecosystem is a huge advantage, because then she isn't just a WNBA star, she becomes a network face. The person who can connect NBA talk to WNBA talk, casual fans to hardcore fans, highlights to real storylines. That bridge is valuable, and it's the kind of bridge networks fight over when they want to grow audiences across multiple leagues. And yes, the streaming angle is part of the chess move too. Basketball Night in America being available through Peacock makes it easy for her fan base to watch, clip, and share. NBC isn't just thinking about live TV ratings. They're thinking about digital spread, moments going viral, quotes getting reposted, segments living on phones for days. That's why the platform matters. If you can get fans watching on streaming, you can also get them subscribing. And subscriptions are the modern gold mine. Networks love personalities that drive people to log in, not just tune in casually. Clark has proven she can move attention, and attention can move subscriptions. The bigger signal here is that NBC is treating Clark like a premium asset, not a side character. They're not placing her in the background, they're putting her in the center of a new flagship show, aligning her with top broadcast talent and using prime matchups as her stage. That's a loud message about value, and you don't make a move like that unless you expect returns. One of the most telling parts of all this is how much it changes the usual sports media pecking order. For a long time, certain networks dominated basketball conversation by default, and now NBC is stepping in with a move that screams, "We're here to compete." The fact that this kind of announcement is tied to NBC instead of the usual suspects shows the media landscape is shifting, and Clark is right in the middle of it. And that's what makes her such a rare figure. She doesn't just affect the court, she affects the business around the court. She affects programming decisions, marketing strategies, sponsor priorities, and now broadcast lineups. That's not normal star power. That's cultural gravity, and you can see it in how quickly the conversation changes the second her name enters the room. This role also changes how fans experience her, which is huge. On the court, you see the highlights. In the booth, you hear the mind behind the highlights. You hear what she notices, what she values, what she thinks separates winners from losers. For fans, that's addictive, because it feels like getting access to the game through the eyes of someone who lives it at the highest speed. And it adds a new layer to her story at the perfect time. She's recovering. The WNBA offseason is full of uncertainty, and fans are starving for something concrete. NBC just handed them a new chapter. Clark as analyst, Clark as media force, Clark as someone who can dominate the conversation without even taking a jump shot. But don't get it twisted. This doesn't replace the anticipation for her return to the court. If anything, it builds it. Every time she speaks on the game, fans will connect it back to what she'll do when she's healthy. Every breakdown of a defensive scheme will turn into, "Imagine her attacking that." Every segment becomes a reminder that her real power is still in what she does between the lines. That's why this move feels like more than an off-season job. It's a declaration that Clark's influence isn't limited to one lane. She can be a player, a storyteller, a teacher, and a headline generator all at once. And in the modern sports economy, that's the kind of multi-platform pull that turns an athlete into an empire. The only real question now is what her on-camera style looks like when the lights hit and the conversation gets fast. Does she come in calm and surgical, breaking things down like film study? Does she bring a little edge and call out what's sloppy? Does she keep it measured, or does she lean into bold takes that set the internet on fire? Either way, the setup guarantees noise, prime matchups, huge panel names, a brand new show trying to plant a flag, and the biggest magnet in women's basketball stepping into the studio like she belongs there. That's not a quiet rollout. That's a cannon shot, and NBC is clearly hoping it lands exactly the way it looks on paper. And here's the part that can't be ignored. Once you show you can move the needle in two worlds, your leverage changes. Not just with sponsors, not just with networks, but with the entire sports ecosystem. Because if you can draw eyes on the court and draw eyes in the booth, you're not just a player anymore. You're a platform. So yeah, her NBC debut isn't just another appearance. It's a high-profile pivot with serious weight behind it, and everybody in sports media knows it. The court is still her home, but now the broadcast desk is a second stage, and she's stepping onto it like she's ready to own that too.